As we're looking ahead to spring and summer, and COVID restrictions easing in many provinces, many are cautiously optimistic about what the future holds for festivals and cultural events. A group from the Greater Victoria area is on that boat, ready for the possibility of hosting their folk festival this summer. Let's sit down with members of Folktoria to find out about this celebration of diversity and unification.
Good afternoon. I'm with the Vancouver Island Scottish Country Dance Society, and we've participated in Folkfest first at Folktoria since the 1970s, I guess. And we have a very, very good group in town here. We have classes most nights of the week, and we have social functions as well. And we really enjoy part of this group.
Hi, my name is Melvin. I'm with the Sons of Norway Folk Dancers in Victoria, and it's also director of the Greater Victoria Folk Festival Society. I've been doing Norwegian dance since 1986 and performed, of course, at Folkfest and now at Victoria. So.
Hi, I'm Pam Rudy. I'm wearing my Ukrainian heritage blouse, mom embroidered. It was the first dance group that I participated in back when Folkfest was a festival, and it was in Veselka, the Ukrainian dance group. But since that, I've been with 4 other performing groups and a recreational dance group, Saanich International Folk Dancers, for the past 40 years. And that's, I guess, my affiliation with Folktoria is more now with Saanich International. And it's just a nice way of continuing the festival that we used to have in the old days and bringing new people to the community, as well as people who already are in the community, and just sharing our cultures.
So Sonia Gruel is my name, and I represent the Shadi Punjab Dance Performing Arts and Heritage School. We organized together in 1993. We were a group of 13 friends who didn't feel that our culture was being represented, and I had been dancing quite a bit in the community. My social life involved participating in what we call Sangeet parties. They're sort of like a baby shower, and so they're women gathering, they sing. So when I was a teen, I was always dancing and I loved it, and I did my solo dances and I saw my aunties, and so I thought, I like to continue this. And eventually mother started just asking me, can you teach our daughter? And I thought, okay. So it was just a small little thing. And then pardon me, then I got together with a group of 13 friends, as I mentioned, and we started to perform. One of our first performances was during the opening of the 1994 Saanich Commonwealth pool. And so from there, we started getting into the community. We joined I think then it was called the Music Festival, and now it's called the Greater Victoria Performing Arts Festival. And I met Sheila Blake back then. And so we got into the community, we danced and we grew. And Peter Brimacombe is another familiar name who gave us our first home at the St. Margaret's School, which is actually my alma mater. And then from there, we formed our official dance organization. We had about 60 children in 1996 with the help of support of parents, and we've been dancing since. We've been in part of the community. It's not just bringing culture awareness to youth through dance, but we also have sort of developed a leadership program where we look for and support opportunities for all kinds of things. Like we had a scholarship for educational scholarship. And I also have supported many organizations. For example, the current Diwali event held by the Hindu Parashad Temple started in 1997. And we were the first organization that performed there. It was a 2-hour show. It was their very first show. we did the first hour. And so we're integral to not just the Indian community, but we're also building bridges with many cultural groups. I then also, like everybody here, we started performing at the Folk Festival, which is the production of the Greater Victoria Intercultural Association of Victoria. And that's where we flourished, and again was one of our first performances, and we stayed with it right to the end. So that is our home to us as well. So, and also the current India Fest that happens, again, we, the Shawnee Punjab Dance School, helped build that as well. For the first 5 years, we performed endlessly till it got its name. So we've been quite a bit involved as a dance organization in the community. So,
hi, I'm Carrie Patriarch. I'm on the board of the Greater Victoria Folk Festival Society, and I sing in English and French Canadian folk songs, and also participate in a group that sings nautical songs. So we're picking up the heritage of work, mishmash Canadian. So it's appropriate for me to have a mishmash of cultural inputs. Folk Fest. I started going to Folk Fest in 1973, singing my folk sub club, and I have never experienced anything better than being in a community of various cultural groups, singing, dancing, and making music and happiness together. So that's why this is important to me. It's an important part of the culture of Victoria, and we like to rely on people who are in the community rather than like the other folk festivals where they have headliners from all over the place. We're really drawing on our cultural richness here.
Organizing this, much appreciated. My name is Nara Doshenovic, and I have been with the Saanich International Folk Dance Club for 20 years now. I moved to Victoria in the year 2001, and that is when I joined Saanich International Folk Dancing Club. I am here representing kind of Balkan part. I'm from former Yugoslavia. My heritage is Serbian, born in Croatia, which kind of confuses people. I believe that I saw a proverb yesterday. Apparently, it's an Irish proverb that says, before you give a weapon to man, teach them how to dance, which is kind of interesting. I see there was a time when folk dancing was taught in school, and that was what I was doing as well as a youngster back in Croatia, as a part of physical education to get fit, not to really learn dances from different parts of the world. But now I think the latest mission of the international folk dancing, recreational folk dancing here in the world, but particularly here in North America, is really to contribute to peace through getting to know each other, sharing dance, sing songs, food, in particular, just getting to know each other, and chances are we are not going to fight if we learn and embrace our what is in common. First of all, focus on what is in common, and embrace our differences. We are just, that's all what it is. So my mission moving forward is going to be, I did organize in the past a few times teaching of the folk dancing in schools, so I will go back to that again. And I think if kids, I just saw my daughter's, I was used to organize folk dancing, teaching folk dancing when my younger daughter was in elementary school, Willows Elementary School here in Victoria, in grade 6, I believe. So there was a post on the Facebook, and one of her friends said, "Oh, that's your mom. I remember when she was teaching." I mean, and that was years ago. My daughter is now 30. So it's definitely for me a vehicle to bring a peace and more joy to the world.
This group of individuals is a great example of that mentality and mindset of bringing people together and through dance, just celebrating different cultures and backgrounds. Who would like to talk a little bit about Folktoria? Who would like to go first?
What do we say about Folktoria? Well, first of all, I just want to say that the name Folktoria, we had voted on, as a group back when we first formed. And I have to say, Melvin came up with this name and we voted on several names. And so, and I think the background of the name, for example, is bringing the folk culture that we all represent, but we also represent the larger community. And then the ending part is Victoria. So it's a combination, right, of those two words. But it's brilliant, and it's been hitting home with many people, and we were looking for something simple to say. And definitely bringing that word folk. With Folktoria, where do we start? So basically after the Canada 150 celebration, several organizations, representatives of those organizations got together, and we felt that because many of us perform quite a bit in different events. And so we see each other quite often. And the conversation sort of began, well, do you remember the folk festival? How, bringing back those memories. And we just felt that something was missing for people who are so passionate about sharing their culture and have been doing it consistently, committed to their culture and their organizations. So we then decided we had enough interest at that time, and we decided to move forward. We had also, at a later point, invited, I mentioned a name, Sheila Blake, the founder of the ethnic portion of the Greater Victoria Performing Arts Festival, on board as well. And then February 5th, 2018, we formed the Greater Victoria Folk Festival Society. So I'll stop there and I'll let other people talk about Folktoria, because it's not just me, but I'm just glad that we're here celebrating 5 years.
5 years, congratulations.
Thank you.
The first festival was 2018. It was a one-day festival. And then next year we expanded to a two-day festival over Saturday, Sunday, and then the pandemic hit, and so we did virtual events for the last 2 years, and we're definitely hoping to get back into Victoria's Centennial Square for the first weekend of June this year. We are listening to all the provincial health ministers, and just hopefully they'll loosen the restrictions to let us go forward and have a large audience. So
that's what I've been hearing from a lot of different organizations and performers, that they are really ready to get to these festivals, events, stages, because it's only been 2 years, but it's been a long 2 years.
Yeah.
Centennial Square holds a lot of history for us because it's where Folk Fest was primarily. It's such a wonderful location because you can come into it from about 3 sides, plus see overhead from the garage if you go up there, which is wonderful to watch. But it's just a nice meeting place with a fountain in the middle and a fairly good stage. And the city has been very supportive of us being there.
Coming together of all the different cultural groups and organizations, and new ones always show up every year, which is wonderful. And it's really just an opportunity to put these groups, these representatives, at the forefront. This is their festival. We want to showcase the best. And it's an opportunity where people come. When we had it in person, they come, they park their chairs. And
one of the things that I think really highlights during Folktoria is the volunteer aspect. It's intended to be volunteer participation, no expectation of money coming. People bring their talents and share them, whether that's through singing or dancing or playing instruments. To be able to pull off a 2-day event and have the number of volunteers to be able to run things on a smooth level and have people that can take turns, whether it's doing MC work for the stage performances or people who help him in the information booth, all the food vendors, people that come. You know, it's nice to think that, you know, people aren't looking at the festival as a way to go and earn money for a performance. It's all expected to be on a volunteer giving basis.
Well, and it's part of sharing with others what might be available to them, right? A lot of these are opportunities for people to go, oh, I would like to learn how to. So it really is an opportunity for sharing knowledge, because not everybody knows that there's an Italian cultural association or a Scottish cultural association.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that we have a lot of support from the city and the province and from the Downtown Victoria Business Association as well. We've been very, very kindly treated and have been awarded quite a lot of funding from those three groups in particular. Also very well supported by some businesses in the city. So it's not just the cultural associations and troops that are supporting this, but also the city itself misses it.
It's a unifying of several different entities and individuals and organizations coming together to make this all possible.
And we've had a couple of evenings or afternoons where people have come and performed for others and then taught their dances and get it. So we've all had an opportunity to teach others cultural dances as well.
We've been using the word folk a lot, and when you say folk, it invokes different ideas in in people's minds. For each of you, when we're looking at folk festivals, folk music, folk dancing, folk stories, what does that word folk mean to you?
In history that I've grown up with that make me understand my culture. The stories that my mother told me, that my grandmother's passed on to her. My mother is very passionate about her Punjabi culture, and she has shared that with me over the years. Whether it was being pulled into watching certain things or understanding, a recipe or a song, and so I learned the language too here. So that's what folk means to me. Folk means that that heritage that I identify as a Punjabi person, and the culture that it that comes with it, the ways of doing things, the beliefs, the all those things. Yeah, that's what I see as folk.
A sharing of traditions, I think.
I know in Norway, the dances that we do here, we try to follow the dances that are still being done in Norway. But some of the dances we do with the international folk dances are not done in the originating countries anymore. The biggest problem has been Yugoslavia due to the breakup of those into separate countries and migration of people. There's dances that we do that nobody left in that former culture recognizes. They've lost it when they've been forced to move from one area to the other. So it's a preservation of history of a culture. So
I have a different take. When I was 5, I listened to the Volga Boatman song sung by the Red Choir or whatever it was, and it just made me cry just naturally. And so when I think of folk music, I think of music that comes from people and that touches people, and it's not commercialized. It doesn't have any kind of way of reaching you other than being passed from one person to another right up until the centuries. It is a lifeline to people's hearts through the ages.
Mel's idea about preservation, I think the theme is sort of across the board here. With me, the challenge I find is I'm trying to hold on to that preserving that piece, but technically our dance that we teach is called Bhangra, and Bhangra is done to rhymes and hymns that are actually sung in person. But nowadays, to keep the youth engaged, like Carrie just mentioned the word commercialized, some of the songs, they're they've modernized a bit. And, if you go to an Indian wedding, you hear them and youth perform to them. So we have challenges of balancing that, but we're doing our best still to keep youth engaged. It's important for us.
Yeah, that can be a real struggle in this modern digital age to keep something kind of organic, natural, in a form where once you start putting it online, it starts changing and evolving into a new form that doesn't have the same feel to it anymore.
Yeah, the instruments are still there, the hymns are still there, but we have to be very selective what we choose for songs. Again, bringing back that folk.
Folktoria, it's had a digital component with COVID-19. Typically, what does this 2-day festival look like?
We have an opening ceremonies. We invite our sponsors. We invite members of organizations to speak and just start off our event. It's got dance, it's got songs, performing. I guess that falls under performing arts, singing, bands. Sort of we open it up to the culture groups.
Trucks. Food trucks.
Food trucks, food vendors, not necessarily like if you, the folk festival actually didn't have as many trucks back then, but now there seems to be more trucks and that are being used. But we still have the food vendors as well. Right, Nada? We had the Victoria Canadian Filipino Association that they don't have a food truck, but they're there and they share their food. And we had the Polish organization there was selling their food. And
Hungarian too, wasn't it?
sorry, Joan?
Hungarians.
I think they were planning to for 2020, just before COVID hit. They were really gung-ho coming on board. So hopefully this year. So, for example, we had, prior to COVID, we had 45 organizations lined up. We've grown from 15 in the first year, I believe 35 in 2019, and then by 2020, we were at about 45. It's amazing. Some of the groups are, we've got cultures represented is the Indigenous, Sons of Norway, which Melvin is here, the Chinese, the Scottish, Joan is here, and the Irish, the Punjabi, the Hindi, Polish, Hawaiian, Philippine, Spanish, Portuguese, Croatian, the Croatian, sorry, what was that?
Japanese too.
Japanese, thank you, yes. And with the Croatian, they've always, they participated more in the virtual part, but they're really looking forward to, they were lined up for 2020. British, Balkan, I'm not sure the Balkan, somebody help me out, what area do they represent?
The Balkan babes.
It's Bulgaria.
Songs. Well, not just Bulgaria, Macedonia and Serbia and just that sort of area above Greece right up to Georgia.
The Ukraine, which Nada spoke about, and Hungarian, Russian, Italian, French, African, and German are some of the cultures we have brought on.
So it's literally almost the entire world kind of celebrated.
Almost there. We still are working on the Greek, and the Korean have just are going to participate tomorrow at our meeting, our first meeting, so we're excited about that.
There's a main stage. There's only one. Some people know about the festival and come on purpose to spend the day or spend part of the day, but there's a lot of walk-bys and walk-throughs, and people get snagged by the happy.
Volunteerism really helps make this all come together. So how can people help out for the June is hopefully going to be the festival. It's going to be happening in person, hopefully following provincial health guidelines and everything. But how can people help volunteer and make this a reality?
Folkfestivalinfo@gmail.com. That is a way to connect with us. We have a Facebook page. Please, you're welcome to message us, to participate and get involved. I have always volunteered all my life with different organizations, and I truly think volunteer work we do because we want to do it. There's a passion behind it. So volunteering is without it, we're not here. So nothing really gets happened for a lot of things. So we value the volunteers and really appreciate everybody's effort, and we're grateful from the bottom of our hearts.
We need volunteers like coordinators for different things like the food trucks and the garbage and recycling and somebody to coordinate. Like we need that kind of role, as well as needing just human bodies to do some of the work during the festival itself of helping us keep things flowing, right?
Like there's a site coordinator. We need a volunteer coordinator to just manage the volunteer. We just want to make sure they have a point of contact. It does get busy those 2 days, and you can plan the best you can, and more minds are better than one. But during those 2 days, so much can happen. So I think for volunteers, it's really important that they feel that they're contributing and they have a point of contact. But we need volunteers, at the information booth that represents a society. And more volunteers means people can take shorter shifts, enjoy the event. There's a lot of pre and post, the setup, the takedown. It's endless. Every effort is required. So
we've also tried to incorporate a children's craft area and have volunteers who can teach different crafts, and if they have a cultural aspect to it, and have different people sharing that aspect of their culture. So it's another place where volunteers could be well used.
I know an email address was mentioned, but what are some other ways people can find out more about Folktoria?
Well, the Facebook site is very good and has some examples of performances, and that's a valuable way to contact the group.
There's a website too, just want to add to Carrie. It's www.folktoria.ca, and our email's on there. And also to become a member, it's information on there as well.
Enjoying the content from You Multicultural? Why don't you subscribe to stay up to date with everything that we're doing? If you have any stories you want us to talk about or communities we should highlight, leave a comment down below or reach out to us over social media. I'm Ryan Funk. This was You Talk, and have yourself a good one.